listening to the Get Peeled podcast, a space for life enthusiasts to get inspired, learn through others about fitness, business, relationships, and life itself. I'm your host, Hannah Eden, a fitness entrepreneur that has an obsession with sweating and a burning desire to share and inspire others with the lessons that I have learned through fitness. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Get Peeled podcast. I'm Hannah Eden.
And I'm Paulo Barreto. Today, we're in Sacramento, California.
That's right.
Here's a little trivia before we begin this. Did you know that Sacramento is the capital of California?
Mm-hmm.
Did you?
I did. You didn't.
I did not.
I know that.
I did not.
And then I was like, we're walking through the state capitol right now. And he's like, no.
That's because you're right in the building.
Right, when we were there, but I knew that.
What's the capital of Florida?
Capital of Florida?
Yeah. What is capital of Florida?
Tallahassee.
There you go. And most people think it's Miami. But let's move on.
All right,
I like this conversation.
Okay, me too. You're trying to catch me fumble, huh? But
Catch me fumble.
Hey, yo. So today we're going to be talking about rebirth. And the reason why we're doing this is because every time we design a program, the reason why we're designing it, right, is not only to help people get into shape, right? That's ultimately why people decide that they want to start moving. Well, let me rephrase that. The majority of people want to start moving because they want to gain some kind of an aesthetic goal. Mm-hmm. Which is also why I started, which is also why a lot of people started. But somewhere along the way, in order to
totally fine, right?
Yeah. Totally fine. But somewhere along the way, that kind of motivation will fade in and out. And a lot of life struggles that pull us down and kind of throw us through a loop will often create a reason that is stronger than an aesthetic goal. But from my personal experience, I have now found reasons that, yes, there's aesthetic goals and reasons inside of my brain, but there's also a lot of other reasons that I train. Number one being for mental health. Number two being that fitness has showed me how much potential that I could have for life and how much I'm actually capable of, right? And now it's like this constant obsession and life goal to continue to push the envelope and raise the bar. And I like to say that I'm recreating myself over and over and over again. Like the person that I am right now is so different than the person that was sat in front of this camera talking to you a year ago, even months ago. I love to reinvent myself. I love to keep recreating and finding new layers and finding new possibilities inside of my mind and for my physical body as well. What do you think?
I like it. So you touch on the thing that the reason why we create programs. I think that we beat this drum many times in a sense that, yes, we all begin with this one reason, and we think that that reason will never last long enough, or you'll last just long enough until you fall back into old habits. So that's why we always tell you to find what's deeper, right? And today we want to talk about change. We want to talk about why do we begin change? And when do you think that that's necessary?
Right. I think we should kind of go back a little bit further and explain what we're doing. This is one of 4 podcasts that we're going to be filming, that we're going to be having an open discussion about the way that we've designed this program. So back to the idea behind Rebirth. Rebirth is a new program that's going to be coming out January 2022. And it's all about reinventing yourself. And there's always a theme that goes along with it, right? So every time we've released a workout in the past few programs that we've put out, we've also applied mindful practices and homework to it. So there's literally written exercises that are attached to your program so that you can connect your mind to your body and maybe utilize the time that you're going through the transformation to be more present with what's going on inside of your head. And the goal is to never have you think that walking into this program, you're going to walk out with a body like mine or with a mindset like mine right off the bat. That's not what this is about. The idea is that we can share as much knowledge and lessons that we've learned on our own journey to you guys and trying to break them down into stages. And I remember this now, it's been almost 10 years, or 8 to 10 years of training, but now I can understand that I see what I'm doing. I'm recreating myself. And I used to be so afraid of that, but it's actually the greatest thing that I could have ever done. And it's talking about responsibility and potential and capability and your own belief inside of your brain of what you're able to do is going to determine what you actually do, right? So this program, we've got 4 weeks. First week is going to be talking about wake up. So then now let's go back to what you were saying and how we can talk about all of that today.
Yeah, so one thing that we identify, and we've been doing a lot of reading, a lot of soul searching, a lot of digging into how we can become better, how we can do more, how we can basically be better individuals, right? Living together, doing this together, working together, spending 24 hours of the day together pose a lot of challenges. And in posing challenges, we're trying to find ways of working through it, and becoming better. And we identify a couple of things. And the first one being wake up. Why wake up? And we came to this idea where people usually spend most of their lives, if not their entire lives, on a state of being asleep. They just go through the motion. They just go through that. They live constantly into that comfortable zone. And how can you get out of it?
And I want to even go and relate to this from a personal experience, because now we're here, right, in this stage of our life. But it wasn't always like this. And I love that we have the opportunity to have an open, unscripted conversation about this, so that you don't think that we're sitting here and telling you what you should do. No, we're trying to share with you experiences that we've personally done ourselves.
Struggles.
And that we've struggled through and wish that we hadn't, and wish that someone was there to kind of give us this advice. So when Paulo says that, like, if I didn't find fitness, I wouldn't have woken up. I would have continued doing what I was doing, which was just going through the cycles of that my brain had at that point, which meant I didn't allow any other information or any other knowledge or tips and tools come into my brain, because I had it all figured out, right? I didn't need anyone else's help. I thought that therapy was a joke. I thought that personal development was hilarious, and just fucking live your life, man. Don't overthink it. And, you know, I think it comes with age that we all start to really think about shit. But these are stages that we were in. So if I didn't find fitness, I would either, you know, there's a lot of things that have happened, but if I didn't move to US, who knows what I'd be doing? I was dated a convicted felon at the age of 16 while I was there. Had given no fucks about school. Well, I had no ambition at all. Came here, fell in love with you, found fitness, had a total life transformation. But this is us waking up, right? Because the hardest part is accepting that you've got a problem. And I wanted to relate to actual experience that we've been through with other people, than hearing their stories. And it's really hard to not say anything, but it's not your place to speak up. And I think this is an opportunity for us to share what I'm referring to.
I don't even know if understanding that you have a problem and you need a fix. The way I see it is not even having a problem and needing a fix. The way I see it is, are you happy where you are right now? Or are you continuously doing things that bring you unhappiness? And every time you do it, you ask yourself, why the fuck did I do this again? Or if there's this piece of your life where you feel like you're stuck and you almost hide and lie to yourself. Mm-hmm. I know for a fact that I've done that.
And this is not what I'm trying to say, that you have a problem that you need to fix at all. That's not what I'm trying to say at all, because what I'm about to share with you guys, we're still doing now. And I think that it's a life cycle that will never end. So you're never going to fix all your problems. You're just going to know how to deal with them better and how to become more resilient to the effects that those problems may cause on you, right? Mm-hmm. So let's rewind and go back to what I meant by relating this to an actual inhuman experience, and then being able to see it from an observant point of view rather than it being myself. It was like a ba-bing, aha moment, right? Which means that I recognized something in someone else that I used to do myself, saw this pattern, and now this is us sharing it with you. So we had a gym for 5 years, saw so many different kinds of people that would walk in and out of the door, and there would be a lot of the same situations that would happen. That would be recurring patterns that I noticed, which was people really wanted to make a change. They were outspoken about making a change or wanting to desire a goal, and then they literally convinced themselves that they were doing everything that they could to reach that goal. I've been doing this long enough to know that unless there's a health reason involved, I call bullshit. Yeah. Right? Like, I'd be like, okay, so can you track your food and let me know what you're eating? They'd send me the most meticulous meal plan that I would not even be able to stick to, and that they swear this is all they eat, just a handful of raw almonds and a quarter of a cup of oatmeal for breakfast, and a clean steamed vegetables with a baked fish for lunch. And like, there's no way that if you've been showing up to the gym, which I've seen you've been doing, you've been putting the effort into the workouts, which I've watched you do, and that you've been eating like that your body would remain the way it did. There's no way that there would not be any change unless you're not really eating that. And this is the way it's like, wake up, man. If you want to change, you got to be honest with yourself, and you got to be honest with us. You know, it's like, I understand maybe being honest with other people is a very vulnerable place to be, but be honest with yourself. And we're giving you all the tools right now to be able to do this on your own with our support, without being in front of your face, which means wake up, be real with yourself on this challenge. Don't lie to yourself. If you wake up and eat brownies at 2 a.m., be real with yourself. Acknowledge that that is not the right thing to do, and make a change. And as long as you're in denial, you're never going to change. And I was that person, making decisions and immediately regretting them, but not admitting to myself, that I regretted it. So I wouldn't say that out loud. I'd do something, go through an emotion, or do something that I knew that I shouldn't be doing, and then instantly regret it. Well, if you're making decisions that you're doubting yourself that you should have done that, chances are that you're making the wrong decision and you know it, but you just don't want to admit it.
Yeah, and there's a few things to it, right? Ooh, that was
a lot of events
someone
going
dragging
on.
the table. There's a few things to it, and one of them is, if you rehearse this narrative to yourself over and over and over again, you're going to believe it. Mm-hmm. You're going to believe it. And then when someone comes around and tries to check you and say, hey, this is what's going on, this is what I'm seeing, not from a judgmental standpoint, but this is what's happening.
Right.
Are you okay with that? That person can 100% turn around and say, no, I'm not doing that, or no, that's not what it is.
Right. You don't even know.
And
you don't
we
understand.
have this capacity of creating these narratives to justify things that we do, right? And then you start believing them. And then moreover is our ability to create these narratives, and then whenever it's needed, you start blaming everyone else around you for the shit that you're doing. And you don't want to admit to yourself, right? Someone really close to me had that situation, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to sit and want to be very blunt, and I want to call a couple of things. And the first half of the conversation was trying to speak to a bouncing wall. Mm-hmm. Like everything that I threw came right back. I'm like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? Like, wake up. This is what's going on. These are facts. And until you realize that these things are hindering you to your full potential, there is no way that you can achieve change. So that's why we're coming with this idea to shake you and say, fucking wake up. And we understand, because I do it too in several facets of my life. And it's hard, because in this trip I had highlighted several of those things. I do things that I immediately regret. And then my brain, because our brains are wired to protect us. However it is, it's going to try to protect us and create this narrative around to give us a story where you blame that person, blame this person, justify this.
Your actions, yeah.
And it's okay. And it gets to a point where you're okay with that. And we came to this really deep conversation where I'm like, babe, I want to fucking change because I'm tired of this. I'm lying to myself, and I know that I am. And then I sit in front of cameras, or I try to, help people realize things about them that I'm doing myself. And I need to fucking wake up and change, so please check me. And that's where this first idea came. It's tough. It's fucking tough.
Yeah, it is. Because a lot of people will stay asleep their whole life until it's the end. And then they have this epiphany. It's like, oh my God, I wasted my whole life. Oh my gosh, it was always on me. Oh my gosh, I had every opportunity, I just didn't see it. This is us shaking you to say, wake up right now. It doesn't matter where you're at in your life, wake the fuck up. Because life is precious. We've had recent experiences that are horrible that I've been through, which have just confirmed how easy it is to die. That sounds so fickle. That sounds so blunt and cold, but it's so true. That heart of yours is the only reason why you're living. So keep it alive and keep it filled and make sure that you're stretching yourself to become the biggest version of yourself. And I mean that not physically, or physically if you want to, but be big. Don't allow actions or situations cause you to be small and to shrink. Ant Middleton is someone that I'm obsessed with at the moment, but I love the way that he uses an example about his brother in one of the books that he's read. His brother undoubtedly had a lot of horrible situations happen to him as a kid. They lost their father at such a young age. All of these traumatic events caused him to believe he was a victim, and he lived as a victim his entire life. But everyone around him treated him like a victim because that's the way he portrayed himself to be. So when you're wondering why someone's not helping you, or why you're wondering why someone's not coming to tell you to stop, that's because they never will. And you transition into an age, right? I think we spoke about this briefly, which is, when we're a child, we're raised in a household where our parents have to cater to us. They have to nurture versus nature, right? They have to take care of us, protect us. If we trip and fall, they cuddle us and tell us it's going to be okay. If someone's mean to us, they tell us that they're wrong and we're right. That's treating you as a baby and as a child. But a lot of households, there's no conversation when you have that transition from being a child into an adult. And if you don't have enough self-awareness to understand that you got to wake up and take action take responsibility for your own actions, then some people turn around at 45 years old and they're still in a childlike mindset, a victim mindset, blaming the whole world as to why their life wasn't better and as to why it has been the way it is. When ultimately the scariest truth, and we talked about this in Fearless, is it's always up to you, which is fucking terrifying. Because
and no one's going to come.
No one is going to come and help you. No one is going to tell you to stop. No one is, and we joke about this all the time, but like as an adult, in an adult setting, if you're not a good person at this age, unless you've got some really feisty friends, which luckily we do, but majority of people don't have that kind of friendship where it's so outspoken that someone's going to call you on your shit. So you get checked and you like look at yourself in a different way. They're just going to make their idea of who you are and go on with their life. And maybe recognize a trait in you that they dislike, that they try and improve in themselves. But it's no one else's responsibility to change you. That's up to you, and you have to have enough awareness to understand where you are. And if you don't like it, fucking change it. Don't blame everyone else. Change the truth inside of your mind. Change the narrative. That's always up to you. But if you continue feeding the narrative what it's always been told, it's never going to change. So wake up, be very real and cold with yourself, and understand that if you want to make a change, you gotta do it.
Yeah. And I guess the first exercise is there anything that you're currently doing that the moment that you finish doing that thing, or even the moment that you start doing that thing, that even if it's a faint little thought comes around and you're like, fuck man, why did I do this? Because if there is, all we're trying to say here is try and work through that thought. Don't receive it and bounce it right away and trying to get rid of it. Because if you are thinking twice about doing it, and this is whatever it is, we're not talking about a cheat meal in the middle of the night or oh man, I told myself that I was going to work out and I didn't. If there is this little voice in your mind saying, why the fuck did you do it again, Paulo? Or why the fuck did you do it again, Hannah? Listen to it and try and work through it. Don't just bounce it right out, because we understand it's much easier to just brush it up, give it time to fade away, and continue with your life. We're recently talking about Brené Brown, and she's an awesome, awesome person for you to listen to. She says that every single day she wakes up, she rehearses the very same sentence to herself.
So loud up there.
Hopefully the microphone is picking up. And she rehearses the very same sentence to herself is, today I choose courage over comfort. And this is all that we're trying to tell you. Choose courage, choose to be courageous, choose to be vulnerable with yourself and say, man, I'm really fucking this up. And if I want to make a change, it has to come from me only, not my partner, not my parents, not my friends. It has to come from me. And then once you understand that, I think that it's step number one for you to say, okay, it's time to change. I know for a fact that this trip, Hannah has been instrumental to this, because she checks me all the fucking time. And it's not pretty. It's not, oh man, it's so beautiful how she checks you and you guys are able to make this happen. No, it's like fireworks, and we fight and we have discussions. Sometimes it's not easy to be checked. Sometimes, or most of the times, it's the hardest thing to be checked by the person you love and the person that you know loves you. And you know that deep inside they're doing it out of love. But it's so hard for you to fucking take that mask off and say, all right, you caught me. I've been a fucking loser. And I'm glad they were able to say that to me. And
that's a little harsh.
It's tough. No. But, you know, I'm saying that with these words, but of course, take it figuratively, because it's hard to hear. It's hard to hear. And the only moment where you're actually going to be able to hear and get it stuck with you, it's if you are the person that tells yourself that. If you're able to look in the mirror and say, man, enough with this fucking bullshit. You want to change, right? Oh, but I want to work out. I want to do this. Then fucking do it. Not saying start with an hour, 2 hours of workout every single day, because that won't be sustainable. I'm saying literally start with a walk around the fucking block. That's a great start.
And also just taking it back from that, this isn't like, hey, let's wake up and make a change that's going to happen tomorrow. The thought comes to your brain and now you're going to be different. And it's just like that. It's not easy. It's a constant battle. I'm still trying to stay true to my changes that I've made 10 years ago. And I still have to keep doing it right now to stay where I am, because I know that this life and this version of myself is far better than that would be, even though it's a lot harder to stay here I'd much rather this than that. And so when we say wake up, you don't need a solution right away. You just need to acknowledge whatever it is that's on your mind. And it doesn't mean that you're going to fix it right away. It doesn't mean that just by acknowledging it, everything's going to change, but be aware of it and don't let it go. So if it's something that is bothering you about yourself, I'm going to use examples right now just in very different areas, right? Maybe you answer back when you wish that you didn't. And as soon as you answer back and you go with some kind of response, the thing that goes in your head was like, you shouldn't have said that, right? Well, then that's a sign that you shouldn't have said that. Write down somewhere on a piece of paper so you can read it from an observant point of view. And this is key. I used to record myself and my thoughts and then listen to it back. Because when you're delivering and not receiving, it's interpreted a very different way. So I think looking at your thoughts on paper, listening to your thoughts on a voice memo and acknowledge it and document it so that you don't let it go, right? That's number one. But maybe it could be you've been smoking cigarettes for 15 years and you wish that you didn't. And every time you lit a cigarette, even though you're like, I don't care that I smoke to the rest of the world, maybe you're like, man, I shouldn't be smoking, I'm getting old, or whatever it may be. Or maybe it's you eat a late night snack before you go to bed and you know that you shouldn't have done that. Or maybe it's as simple as not showing up to the gym when you said you were going to do something. Like, all of these realities are hard to admit when you're the person that's doing it, even if you have everything that's made, right? I went through that weird stage of like, externally I look like I've got everything together, but internally I don't. So I had to do a lot of rewiring and restructuring to understand what that really meant to myself as the current me now, not the person that felt like that 10 years ago or 5 years ago or a year ago. So just be aware of what's going on, wake up, admit that where you're at. In order to know where to go next, you need to know where you are right now. So just be real with yourself and be vulnerable, because, hey, we're not in front of you in physical person right now like we used to be in the gym. It's very different when there's a virtual relationship here, because you have more space to be more vulnerable and not feel like the world is going to judge you, because the only person that knows what you're doing right now is you. There's not a room full of people. You don't have to show up, do your face to somewhere else. You don't have to worry about that. Just be honest with yourself and see where you can go. And I'm excited to see what this kind of program can do. It's tough love. And like Paulo said, like, being called out isn't easy. But if it's from the person that loves you, then you have to understand that's the bigger picture, and that maybe you do need to start to look at your own self from what you're hearing. Or if you hear something, we said this a lot, it's hard to admit, but like, if something's happening more than 2 or 3 times and there's different people involved, but the one person that's always been involved is you, then maybe you're the problem, not them. And I used to do that all the time. It's like, well, why can't they do this? Why can't they do that? And now it's like, well, maybe you're the problem, and that's why they can't perform. So then you start to look inward rather than outward. But it's like really checking your ego that allows you to do these things and have tough conversations, not only with yourself, but with the people that you love as well.
Yeah. Fuck, it's tough. These are going to be tough conversations, guys. Sometimes we're going to laugh a little. Sometimes we're going to get a little rough. But hopefully at the end, we're able to exchange a couple of things and learn a couple of things from each other, right? It's really tough. Thank you, I think. Yeah, thank you, babe.
Thank you.
No, because you put me in check a couple of times, and I needed that, for real. It's tough. And this is what's so hard to understand. And once you understand that, and once also, I think the other person, if you have someone that's trying to help you, someone that's in your life and it matters to you, and their opinion matters to you, is coming to the realization that, and I hope that that's the case for you, because I know it is the case for me. I know that's hard for Hannah sometimes to understand, my traits and the person that I am, but this is the catch, right? And Brené Brown says this, and she obviously says a lot better than I do, is be with someone, surround yourself by people that love you, not despite your weaknesses and flaws. Be with people who love you because of your weaknesses and flaws. And those people will put you on track. And those people will help you wake the fuck up and realize that there's a lot more that you can do with the current life that you have and with the current toolbox that you have available to you.
And Paulo, this conversation we're talking about right now, you've been on the receiving end, but someone from the other side, right, that's trying to deliver a message because you see the greater picture, and you see that this person would hate the world to look at them this way, or whatever it may be. please don't give up on trying, right? But know that you got to change your delivery. Because there was the points that Paulo is referring to right now, that is just from our personal experience over the last 8 months. I've had these thoughts and feelings, but every time I've tried to deliver it, it hasn't been in a suitable way, so it hasn't been received. Then I did a lot of work of trying to understand, okay, I know that he would agree with these points of view if I can just deliver them the right way. So don't quit. Don't give up on trying to better your relationship, better your career, better your life, better your relationship with your kids, your family, whatever it may be. Just understand that maybe they're not understanding what you're saying because you're speaking a different language. And there's a book that I want to leave you with, which is called Nonviolent Communication, which is a game changer, because you can deliver the message 1,000 different ways, but if you're not delivering it in the way that the person that is receiving it, then you're doing a disservice to that kind of valuable, uncomfortable conversation. So it goes both ways. I thank you for hearing whatever it is that we've been through in the last 8 months.
I thank you.
I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. But yeah, we've got to have uncomfortable conversations to grow with ourselves and with each other.
Well,
anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you so much for joining, guys. This is going to be one of a few weeks together. Hope to see you soon.